if you like making music. No, that's not quite right. If you love making music and you want your orchestrative mock-ups to sound better, you've come to the right place. My name is Aloy Sherlock, and today we're going to do a review, tutorial, setup, deep dive into the VSL VI Series Dimension strings. And then we're going to ask ourselves the question, is this the best string library on the market? Let's find out. Well, the first thing we must do is define what this library is. And what it is a chamber string library. This was VSL's most ambitious project ever, with over 1.2 million samples, 8 violins, 6 violas, 8 cellos, 4 basses, and all of those multiplied times 6. And I'll get into that. This is much more than a review, because these samples need to be put in its proper place and marry it with its proper software. You're truly going to benefit. So, everything's time-stamped below, and at the end, I have a conclusion and answer the question, is this the best string library on the market? So without further ado, here we go. Number 1. You need Mir Pro. Why? Because unlike most other reverbs, Mir Pro places your string players in the proper room positions and allows you to adjust the 2 mic positions to your liking. What am I talking about? Over on the left hand here, we have left-hand side, we've got violin player 1, 2, 3, and so forth and so forth. And over here inside of our hall, we have all the violin players placed in the proper position. Now, I'm using on here Teldec Studio. Why? Because I like the sound. I may have all these others, but I like the way that I'm able to go ahead and use other instrument libraries like Berlin, Orchestral Tools, and it mixes very well with it. So now, as we go on to the right-hand side, you're then going to see these different characters, and you can choose these different EQs, here. And at the same time, you're able to move your dry, wet signal here for your main mic, and for your secondary mic, you're able to go ahead and play with the volume offset and your reverb time. By adjusting the placement of these different microphones makes a huge difference on what your sound is going to be like. Number two, you need Vienna Ensemble Pro. Why? VEP allows your computer to offload the CPU from the DAW, even if you're only using one computer. Here, I have a pretty good sized template, all kinds of stuff on here. If I was just running this through my computer, I'd never be able to have everything available to me. Instead, I'm running VEPRO here, and I have all these instances being played here, whether it's violin orchestra, percussion, keyboards, choirs, pianos, all kinds of different instruments, and I'm only running one computer. Now, if your computer's not as powerful, then you would be running other computer slaves, and then they would interface with VEPRO, and then you would be able to have these huge templates. And when you're doing orchestration, you want to be able to have all these at your fingertips. Number 3, get to know the player interface. Native Instruments has Contact. Spitfire Audio has their own plugin. East West has Opus, and Vienna Symphonic Library has Vienna Instruments Pro. What a comprehensive tool this is. Whichever you're able to take your sample that you're putting into any of these slots, and then you're able to adjust them to stretch, make each one a separate delay, attack, release time. Your performance tabs here give you so much flexibility, and you're able to adjust under the hood. It is just wonderful. I have never seen a player that is so comprehensive. Number 4, put each player on a different track. Why? This allows you to have each player have its own tuning, humanization, attack, etc. Different for each player, even though they may all play over here on channel 1. They will be all on separate tracks, which you can control throughout this here. Just like real players do in orchestra setting over here. It makes so much difference. I'm going to go through the cellos. And look at here on my tuning humanization as I start going through them. Each one is different. And by doing that, you're then emulating what real players do. Because when a real player's sitting there, they're not robots. So they don't play everything perfectly. Something they may play right on, something they may play a little bit off. And this allows you that type of control. Number 5, mix the different articulations together. This is where the library shines. Example, here we have a long patch, and in that long patch, I go ahead and I have my sustains, no vibrato, and then it goes over to vibrato, and over here I use my slot cross. I have a foot pedal that I'm able to go up and down with that, but I've added some dynamics. Here I have a 2-second dynamic, and over here I've got a 6-second, 4-second. So when I add those in, it just gives such life. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna put on my breath controller because this is how I control my different instruments. So let's take a listen. Number 6, have a uniform master key switch plan for your matrices. Why? Well, this allows you to move from violins to violas to cellos to basses, knowing that its key switches will give you a certain sound no matter which instrument that you're playing. So here I am with the violins. And if I go to the violins, I can go through all of my different patches. And it is truly wonderful to know that if when I'm going to my cellos, I have them all set up the same way. If I want to go over to my brass, let's go to the brass and let's see what we got there. And these are all set up the same way, as are my woodwinds and so forth and so forth. It makes your composing so much easier. With the Dimension series, you have players who are playing on different strings. So this way, if you want to make a divisi sound, it's very simple. Because if you're having player 1 on your first violins playing on A, which this one is here, then when I go to my second violins, I could put him onto a different note. So this way, we don't have any phasing. Also, much of what I'm speaking about can apply to the VSL Dimension brass library. Legato. This is something that people obsess about. And in the Dimension strings, they give you so much choice, so much choice. So you can make your own legato. For instance, here I have a legato that I'm using a performance expression, and I've added to it a dynamic. And on the next one, you go down to the next guy, I just have the expression. Here I have a dynamic 6 seconds, and it just continues. Each one of these are completely different. Whether I've got a staccato at the very start of it, here I have a no vibrato going over to a vibrato. It is just simply wonderful to be able to create your own on how you want it to sound for that particular moment in your orchestrated piece. For those of you who have gotten this far, I'm going to go ahead and give you a musical bonus. If you are an owner of the VSL Solo String Series, whether it's the violins, the violas, the cellos, take those. Let's go over to here. This is the violins. And each one of these, I have a different matrix performance patch. In other words, if you look under your violins, and if you go to your different advanced, your standard, you'll see all of these different matrix performances. That's when you're playing, for instance, the spiccato right here, you have 3 different samples that are triggered with your playing speed. So it gives a much more realistic performance. And if you go ahead and add that to one of your violins, it gives so much character inside of the Dimension series. Also, if you own the VSL, the violins, the chamber series, this is a great way to make for your second violins to give it a completely distinctive tone. So then that way you may have, let's go ahead and pop it up here. Here I have Dimension series violin player 1, violin player 2, but then on my third violin player, I'm then going ahead and I'm mixing it up with some of the chambers. And this is wonderful in giving character to the divisi, the second violins. And now we come to the conclusion of the matter. Is this the best string library on the market? I can tell you this. This is the most comprehensive string library on the market. Most libraries give you 1, 2, 3 shorts. Here, you got 7. You got 7 shorts. That's huge when you're doing composing. At the same time, the bass range extends much farther than most other libraries. This is like the Lego of libraries. You're able to build upon it, make anything that you want because it has so much flexibility, so much options. Is this the best string library on the market? There is no best string library on the market. Is this the most comprehensive? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video. Any questions you have, write it down, and to my best ability, I'll answer them. God bless. Take care.